like books.
Books are great.
Let's go
we'll
read some books.
And we're live.
We're no longer recording it.
Welcome back
We are live.
to WeRead with your readers, Greg and Karen. How are you feeling today, Karen?
I am feeling sore.
Why?
I am sore because I did CrossFit today. Second time ever doing CrossFit, and I cannot put my arms down, quite literally.
Don't you mean you can't lift your arms up?
No, I cannot put my arms down.
Why?
Because I had to hold them in I'm trying to figure out how to describe it verbally, overhand position with my elbows facing in an awkward position while carrying a barbell for 30, 45 minutes.
Really?
Yes. And now they're kind of stuck in that position.
That's the only comfortable position. If you put them down, your muscles hurt because
Yes,
they're sore.
because I cannot relax my muscles. The inside of my, what do you call this? The tricep and the bicep. I cannot relax because they are extremely sore.
I have no idea. Wrongdoing or not, distorted anger differs from definitive anger in one fundamental way. In definitive anger, there's always a wrong perpetrated. The anger is a response to this wrong. In distorted anger, a perceived wrong leads to anger. But the alleged wrong is only in your perception. There is no real wrongdoing.
There is no real wrongdoing. That's worth noting. For instance, you are walking down the street and observe a teenage boy walk up to a younger and smaller boy, snatch his bicycle from his grasp, and ride off down the street. The younger boy is screaming, "That's my bike! That's my bike! He stole my bike! Ash Ketchum, you give me my bike back!" Immediately, you experience anger. Your emotions rise. Your heart rate quickens. Your mind begins to race.
The very idea of trying to ride a bike in here, Ash Ketchum, you cannot use the bike inside.
I was going for the anime with Ash and Misty, but that works too.
Bullying around a younger child, that's not right. Something needs to be done. If the facts are what you perceive them to be, then your anger is definitive. But let's assume upon further investigation, you find the bicycle actually belonged to the older boy.
That the younger boy saw it unattended and decided to take a ride.
When the older boy spotted him, he was simply retrieving his bicycle before the young boy got out of sight.
Your anger toward the older boy is distorted, and that he perpetrated no wrong. Objection.
In fact, he was correcting the wrong that had been committed by the younger boy.
I don't quite know what that voice is.
That's Lewis Black, are you kidding?
Oh, alright. Distorted anger is based upon a perception of wrong, whereas definitive anger is based upon genuine wrong, as we touched on earlier.
Get it? Got it? Get it? It becomes apparent that if we treat all anger as definitive, we will make some serious blunders in judgment. For example, if, in the above illustration, you assume that your anger is definitive, you may chase the older teen, knock him from the bicycle, knock out a couple teeth, shake him around a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry.
Get a few weird looks from the cops, yes. And return to the younger child.
Get stopped by the police, answer a bunch of questions.
Fill out some paperwork, pay some money.
Spend some time in prison.
Yeah,
Have your
it's
life
just bad.
ruined.
Don't get bailed out of jail. It's bad. Don't have your boss bail you out of jail either.
Have you ever had your boss bail you out of jail?
No, but I know people who've had their boss bail them out of jail before.
Are you insinuating that my boss had to bail me out of jail?
No, I am not.
Okay, well, they don't know that.
Okay. I am not insinuating that you had to have your boss bail you out of jail. I would gladly bail you out of jail before your boss would.
Have you ever been in jail?
No.
Have you?
No. I've been
Have
pulled
you?
over, I have to think. No,
You've
I have
been
not.
pulled over?
I've not been in
How
jail.
Scandalous.
I've been in jail to visit people.
What
I've never
happens-
been in jail behind the bars.
What happens when you get pulled over, Cameron?
You panic and you freak out and you don't stop, and then the cop gets really ticked because you're just too panicked to pull over. I had anxiety issues at one point in time.
What happens? Have you ever gotten out of a ticket?
No,
Why?
because I always confess.
Okay, for those of you at home that may not know, if you admit to a wrongdoing before a policeman, they have to write you a ticket. If you confess, They have to write
But
it.
confession is always the right. We're confessing and repenting here in this anger program.
I agree. But you don't understand how law works. It's the state's job to prove that you did what they claim you did. And they have to prove it before they can punish you. That's the whole point of our justice system. They have to prove it before they're allowed to punish you. If you confess, then they're just happy to lay the hammer down. Okay? But if you don't, then you leave it up to the cop to exercise mercy. He knows you were going 30 miles over the speed limit. Okay? But he may write
30 over. I don't think they're gonna
write 15 because he's having a good day.
Okay.
So you don't lose your license, you only have to pay $300.
Pro tip, don't go 30 miles an hour over the speed limit or you're going to get reckless driving. Okay.
There's a lot of speed limits that change rapidly in Evansville. That's all I'll say.
Yes,
in order to understand distorted anger, you must return to our basic paradigm. In all anger, there is first a provoking event, second, an interpretation of that event, and third, the rising emotion of anger. Physiological changes take place in the body, and we are ready for action.
Ready for action.
If all this occurs, whether the anger is definitive or distorted, all of this occurs
whether the
regardless,
anger is,
whether the anger is definitive or distorted, real or imagined is an easier words. I don't know why I didn't use real or imagined.
Because he wants you to remember definitive, distorted. We talked about which one is which.
But if we are to have a wise response to anger, we must first discern whether the anger is based upon actual wrongdoing. This requires time and thought and not a small amount of practice. Restraining your immediate response gives you the opportunity to question the validity of your anger. Questions must be asked and evidence must be weighed in order to process anger positively. These questions must be asked of yourself and sometimes of the other person.
Yeah, we did skip a line there, but we covered. I think you get the general gist of it. And the illustration of... Ow! For those of you at home, he just threw a pillow at me. A cookie pillow he bought me when I was on a diet. Because he's nice, and he just threw it in my face. I guess because I pointed out his wrongdoing. That's called distorted anger, everyone. Distorted anger is when someone points out a fault that you have made, and you are too emotional to humbly and maturely say, okay, you just decide to throw a cookie pillow at them. Do not throw that cookie pillow at me, sir.
In the illustration above, had you raced to the younger child and asked, "Is that your bike?" he might have said,
No, I was just borrowing it for a short ride. Don't you dare.
Immediately, you know things are not exactly what you perceive them to be. With only one bit of new information, your anger is already beginning to subside.
As you ask further questions of both boys and get a better picture, your anger toward the older boy goes away, or at least lessens. With the additional information, you may decide that no action toward the older boy needs to be taken, and you may end up giving the younger boy a lecture about not taking bicycles without your permission.
That's a much different action than you would have taken if you'd assumed that your original anger was to...
If you assumed your original anger to be definitive. Sorry for burping.
Of course, if you have different stories from the two boys, any action is difficult. You may assume one is lying. The solution may be to go home with one of the boys and talk with his parents.
Okay. Can't think of his name. You're imitating someone. I cannot think of their name.
No, I'm just being stupid.
Cubicle rage. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cube.
Cubicle?
Yeah. I don't know.
Fewer people doing more work, crowded into smaller spaces, is taking its toll. Cubicle rage is people hurling abuse at coworkers. I'd watch that show. One national survey reported by CNN found that 42% of respondents said yelling and verbal abuse took place at work.
Don't encourage reality TV. It's mostly made up and provoked by producers and is trashy. But, I don't know. Cubicle rage could be fun if it was like, cubicle wars, office wars, where you had like forts and obstacle courses and things. 2 questions are important in determining the validity of anger. The first is, what wrong was committed? And the second is, am I sure I have all the facts?
Ooh, that's an important one.
Yes.
I'm gonna...
The first question strikes at the heart of the matter.
Do a little bit of this.
Shut to the heart of the matter.
If a genuine wrong has been committed, then your anger is definitive. If, however, your anger has been born out of some unrealistic expectation inside of you, then it must be handled as distorted anger. Much of our anger grows out of internal emotion and thinking patterns that have developed through the years. For example, the person who tends to be a perfectionist will have high expectations, not only for himself, but for others whom he relates. I have no idea what that's like.
No, never. You don't have a very, very, very high standard of cleaning at all.
Well, not just cleaning, but like everything.
Mm-hmm.
When, for whom he relates. Can I... The person who tends to be... for
Yes,
others
you
whom
may.
he relates.
You may highlight. Highlight.
Highlights.
It's a good magazine. When people do not live up to these expectations, he will likely experience anger. Such anger is often distorted anger because the person has committed no wrong. Although it is rather annoying to leave dishes in the sink when they should be in the dishwasher.
But it's not wrong. Therefore, it's a distorted anger. And until you recognize that, I'm not saying that your anger isn't valid. It's definitely valid. You feel anger. But to say that I've committed some sort of moral wrong and should be treated as such is unjust.
That's not... No. I don't think you've committed
you have
a moral
anger,
wrong.
It has to be processed. Okay? I can help you process that. But I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
So tell me I didn't do anything wrong.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Now I'm totally willing to help you process your anger.
Okay.
All right?
Can you help me process it by putting dishes in a dishwasher?
I'll do the best I can.
Okay.
But
that
I
works.
can't guarantee 100% at this moment.
Okay, that works. I love you, sweetheart.
I love you too. Where are we?
When
When
we
people
begin...
do not live up to these expectations, he will likely experience anger. Such anger is often distorted anger because the person has committed no wrong.
When we begin to examine anger, we find that much of it is distorted anger, because we are not God.
Jill is highly perfectionistic.
Highly perfectionistic.
Open the drawer of her dresser and you'll find all of her clothes neatly stacked and color coordinated. Her closet is no less organized. This pattern for neatness and perfection appears in every aspect of her life.
Including her elocution.
She is marred. To Jeff, who is highly creative. But neatness and organization are not even in his vocabulary.
Jill often becomes angry when she observes Jeff's dirty clothes stuffed into a closet corner, and not in the hamper where they should be. I feel your pain, Jill. When she sees him looking for a report he completed 2 weeks ago but has misplaced. Okay, that's me, not Jeff. And when she gets inside his car, which hasn't been cleaned since the day he brought it home from the dealer, which somebody used to shove trash under the seat, but we've managed to work that out.
If there's a trash can in the car, I use it. That's my
But if
rule.
it's not, then you throw it in the back seat.
I throw it in the floorboard of the back seat because that's the least annoying place for trash to be. I mean, what do you want me to throw it out the window?
Or put it in a trash can when you get to your destination.
Hey, I'd love to, okay? But...
But Jeff has committed no wrong. Jeff is being the person Jeff has learned to be.
Yeah, it's not wrong for me to throw trash in the back of my own car. Especially if I know I'm going to clean it out sometime soon.
Sometime. He has no inner compulsion toward neatness or organization such as Jill has. I am not suggesting that Jill's anger is not real. It has the same emotional, physical, and cognitive aspects as definitive anger. She really is upset. She really believes that Jeff is wrong not to be neat. But if she is open to the facts, she will discover that thousands of people have Jeff's personality traits, and these traits are not evil. Jill's anger still needs to be processed in a positive way. We'll come to that in the next chapter. But it will help if I can see the words. If she can see it for what it is. Her anger is not born out of Jeff's wrongdoing, but out of her own compulsion for neatness and organization. If she could see it as distorted anger, she is far more likely to process it in a positive way. And we were just being playful and combative with each other. We really do know that it's
neither of the trash can in the car or the dishes in the sink are a big deal. We just use those as low intensity metaphors.
Yeah. You don't have a vortex of trash sitting in your room.
Yeah, a self-sustaining vortex of trash.
Yes.
Sometimes examining our Lewis Black will lead us to question the person with whom we are
Lewis Black.
If we understand that we may not have all the facts, then we should be motivated to seek the facts before we jump to wrong conclusions. This right here, 90% of the time when you're angry, this is it. You've attributed wrong motives, or you don't have all the facts. Okay? Just if you come into a conversation about processing anger in a fact-seeking mode, you're going to have a much better time. The problem is, my wife and I know each other so well that when I come to approach her about an issue I'm having, she already assumes that I'm just going to be mad at her. So even if I'm just trying to gather facts, she automatically reacts as though I've just yelled at her. So you have to be really careful with this and be upfront about your intentions. And if you say things like, I need to talk, or we need to talk, listen, that's going to set off the red flags. Say something like, I need your help. I need your help to understand something. Please help me understand this.
He talks about this later. It also helps if you start with a positive. Say, I like the way that you did this, but... And it also helps if you are not an anxious personality like me, who tends to take things automatically in a negative light. That's something I'm working on. And something that you need to kind of process your way through.
When we begin to examine Lewis Black, we will find that much of him falls into the category of distorted anger. Distorted anger is no less troublesome than definitive anger, but needs to be processed in a different way. In Chapter 5, we will consider how to process our distorted anger.
Bum, bum, bum.
Next time on We Read. This is the book song. I make it up as I go along. I'm singing so that the credits have time to roll. This is the book song. It's getting worse because I don't rehearse. So click on the next video and let's all read some books.